Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Dorset's live recruitment event, where tonight we're going to give you a bit of an overview of some of the experience of some of our officers on the call this evening, but also give you some information from our recruitment and our positive action teams, just how, what are the different career pathways that you can come into, and some of the support we can give you as well. So my role is Assistant Chief Constable. So I'm responsible for local policing. So that's the response teams, the patrol teams, the neighbourhood teams, the crime teams. So your CID, your investigative teams, investigating serious crimes, and wider criminal justice. So working with strategic partners around the criminal justice areas of the business. What I'm going to do, I'm going to just bring each member of staff in. They're just going to introduce themselves a little bit, and then once we've done the intros, we'll then step forward and talk a bit more about the different entry routes that we have around it. Right, great. So let's go to Lee Johnson. Lee, do you want to just come in and introduce yourself and just give a bit of a history of yourself?
Oh, thank you, sir. My name's Lee Johnson, PC Lee Johnson. I'm in training at the moment at week 14. Previous background, I was working within finance through sort of my 20s, and now I've hit the age of 30. I've joined the police and wanted to change up my career. Moved from Devon to Dorset, really fell in love with the location, and really enjoying my training so far through the sort of the police constable degree apprenticeship. So I've still got a 3-year course, which I'm sure they're going to go into detail on later on.
Great, thanks, Lee, and great to have you here tonight. If I can now come to Scott Williams.
Thank you, sir. So I'm Scott. I'm currently a sergeant within the VCT, which is the volume crime team. I've been within policing for 6 years now. So I started in the first intake for the PCDA route, and I passed that with a first in my degree for that. I'm also just passed the PC2 inspector route, so I'm now going for a fast track to inspector. My policing experience is 4.5 years on response policing, and now the last 1.5 years within investigations. I've got a public order background, a CBRN general responder background, and a digital media investigating background. So quite a vast background. Thank you, sir.
Great, thanks, Scott. Scott, you mentioned the VCT there. What type of that's a volume crime team, isn't it? What type of things do you deal with in the VCT in terms of type of prisoners?
So that's your day-to-day volume crime. So that's your DA investigations, going on to kind of your public order incidents. We deal with pretty much everything that's not serious or complex within the whole of the county of Dorset. So that's our kind of vast.
Great, thanks. And you mentioned their CBRN. Just for those that might not know what CBRN is, can you just explain what CBRN is for me?
Yeah, so it's chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear. So that is our response to CBRN incidents. So they can be a vast array of things, because that could be from hazmat incidents to your full-on incident like Salisbury a few years back.
Great. Thanks, Scott. And that's an additional hat that you wear on top of your day job, isn't it? That's
yes.
Extra things that you do on top of it. That's great. Thanks, Scott. And we'll come to Fiona next.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. Yes, so I came across on the Detective Constable degree holder entry programme. So I used to be police staff. I used to work in corporate communications. I then saw the advert for the fast track detective scheme and applied. The recruitment process took a few months, and I was fortunately successful in that. So I joined that programme in August 2021 at the age of 43. So I came into it a little bit later on, after already having a couple of careers in the public sector, but very much enjoying it, and now work in the Criminal Investigations Department, Weymouth CID.
Great, thanks, Fiona. That's so great. And then Rachel, come to you next.
Hi there, thank you so much. My name's Rachel Towers. I am one of the senior resourcing officers within the recruitment team. I specifically look after our new recruit police officers alongside our transferee police officers, special constables, police community support officers, that sort of thing. I joined the organisation 12 years ago now as an apprentice. That full 12 years has been done in recruitment. Did a couple of qualifications throughout my time here whilst climbing through the sort of roles within the recruitment team. Yeah, that's me.
Great. Thanks, Rachel. And I'll come to Cher next.
Thanks, sir. Good evening, everyone. I'm Cher Halford. I work in the Alliance Positive Action team. So I'm based in Devon and Cornwall, and Devon and Cornwall Police and Dorset Police work as an alliance for some functions. So Positive Action supports people from underrepresented groups into the organisation. My background in policing is that I've been in for almost 20 years, and in that time I've worked on patrol, neighbourhood policing and crime investigation.
Great, thanks, Cher. And I sort of take this opportunity as well. I'll give you a bit of an overview of my career so far. This isn't, none of us talk about careers. It's just about really what the message we really want to get across to those people watching this is that how varied policing is and the different types of roles that you can do. So I joined policing now around 26 years ago. I originally joined Greater Manchester Police and I transferred down to Dorset as a sergeant. I had no academic background. In fact, I'm not an academic. I dropped out of my A levels, did a vocational qualification in a different career, and then decided actually that the police was me. I think I probably tried to fill the application form out 3 times. I thought, is it for me? Isn't it for me? But actually, I stuck with it and I applied and I got through. Well, policing's afforded me the opportunity to do a degree. I've now got a master's. And I started off as a frontline student officer, working my way through the ranks, and I'm absolutely privileged and very proud to hold the rank that I do now from all those years of policing. And I've worked in response policing, neighbourhoods, detective roles, in serious crime, and even in covert policing roles. So obviously we use lots of covert tactics in policing. And I've worked in these areas at every rank, from constable, sergeant, inspector, chief inspector, superintendent, and obviously chief superintendent as well. And now I've got that responsibility, as I've already outlined today. So as well as doing all that work, and just to think about the opportunities that policing offers you, is that in addition to doing your day job, you have opportunities to expand and develop and broaden your skills, to have additional opportunities that you can do. And some of today I've mentioned about public order, CBRN. For me, I've done public order throughout my career, everything from a constable, running around with shields, dealing with protests and disorder and public safety events. And now I'm sort of in the command structure of those events. Similar firearms, I've never held a gun, but I have been a firearms commander for some years now, which means we're responsible for the delivery of the firearms operations. But I've also been a hostage and crisis negotiator. So I've been sat on cliff edges, talking to people who are intent on harming themselves. Really in that moment of need, being there for somebody and making a difference. And that's what policing is. It's a job like no other. Yes, it can absolutely be challenging, but it's a job where you help people in their most vulnerable times. We safeguard the vulnerable and we put bad people behind bars. We protect those people for whatever that crime may be. And as you probably hear lots of people say, our officers, everybody working in policing across the UK, they run towards danger when everybody else is running away. So it is an amazing career. And if you sat there thinking, not sure it's for me or not, let's listen tonight. I'll go through some of the detail, but ask your questions, put your questions in the comments. We'll also pop a little QR code up on it as well, which you can scan and gives you that more information as well. But ask any questions and we'll get to those very shortly to sort of, we'll answer as many as we can around it. But if not, we'll be able to signpost you into different areas to get that information. But what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to bring in Rachel, who's just going to go through some of the entry routes and a bit more detailed information for us. Rachel.
Thank you so much. So as some of you may know, there are now 4 entry routes into the police. So 3 of them are quite well known. They've been in situ since 2019, but we have a new and exciting one which I'll go through as well. So the first one that I'm going to talk about this evening is the Police Constable Degree Apprenticeship. So as the police, you know, we love an acronym, so you may also hear that referred to as PCDA. At the end of the apprenticeship, so it's a 3-year apprenticeship, and at the end of that, you will receive a degree in professional policing practice. So you'll complete that over a 3-year period, as I already mentioned. There are qualification requirements. You require a level 2, which is a GCSE equivalent at grade C or 4. In English and maths, and you also require a level 3, which equates to 32 UCAS points. So you can also use A levels for that. So it's 2 A levels. You can use A levels, a maximum of 2 A levels to make up 32 UCAS points, or other ones such as sort of level 3 diplomas. There's lots of others that we have on our Force website that we can use for a qualification checker for you if you're not sure. So that's sort of our Police Constable Degree Apprenticeship in a snapshot. Our next one that we have is our Degree Holder Entry Programme. Once again, our lovely acronyms of DHEP. So that is what it does, what it says on the tin, really. You need to have a degree for that entry route. It can be a degree in any subject, as long as it's not already in the professional policing practice. You can have that, and that's a 2-year program for your degree holders. And we do also offer a detective route for the DHEP people, which is referred to as DHEP DC. So that's Degree Holder Entry Program Detective Constable. Our 3rd entry route, which has been in place, is the Professional Policing Degree. So that is our PPD entry route, and individuals applying for this entry route must already hold the degree in professional policing practice. So lots of universities have already offered that out, so you will have already studied for that degree at your university, and then you'll be coming to us already with that degree. That is also a 2-year program for you to go through your initial training. And then finally, bringing you on to our 4th entry route, which I've already touched on, is our newer entry route. This is what is referred to as the Police Constable Entry Programme. So we're really excited as a force to be able to offer this opportunity. It's new, as I've already mentioned. So we do require some eligibility in terms of either qualifications or experience. That's what makes this route really, really exciting for us. So we do either require you to have the level 2, which is your GCSEs in English and maths at grade C or 4, and also a level 3 for 32 UCAS points. If you don't hold those qualifications, we are accepting other service or experience in equivalent to that. So there is a long list which I can pull up and go through it with you, but that looks like military service, ambulance crew, call handlers for either the police or ambulance, probation officers, prison officers. So it really is much broader for those who don't necessarily have the qualifications or don't have the proof of the qualifications and don't want to go back and study them. That one is also an opportunity for a detective program as well. So we get the Police Constable Entry Program, which we refer to as PCEP, or you've got the Detective Constable Entry Program, which we refer to as DCEP, and they will be 2 years. So that's a 2-year program for that one. And rather than having a degree at the end of it, you will receive a diploma in professional policing practice at the end of the 2 years. That's a very quick whistle-stop tour on our new recruit entry routes.
Great, thanks, Rachel. Rachel, if we've got viewers out there tonight who I think are already in another force and are thinking, actually, policing is a great job, but actually the recovery, Dorset offers so much, doesn't it, in terms of our coastline, our rural areas. What would transferees, what would they need to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, as you've already touched on there, we are a lovely county to live and work in, with beautiful scenery and such. So we are open for transferee recruitment. It's a slightly shorter process, but the only eligibility you require requirement for you is to have completed your probation period with your current force. And then there's some other things in terms of essential training. Your first aid needs to be in date, your personal safety needs to be in date, and that sort of thing. But the process is slightly shorter than for our new recruits, as you're already a serving officer, but we are open for you and accepting applications.
Great, thanks, Rich. And I think we're also, as well as transferees for local sort of response policing, we're also interested in specialisms like firearms surveillance, you know, and other skills as well. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's firearms, roads policing, all those sorts of things we are out for, and also a variety of ranks as well. So if you're unsure, we're always more than happy to help. Obviously, either pop a question in the chat this evening, or pop us an email or submit an expression of interest, and one of my team is more than happy to help and answer any questions you have.
Great. Thanks, Rachel. That's really good. I'll bring Cher in now, just talk about the positive action work, if I may, Cher, and then we'll get to the questions, I think.
Yep, thank you, sir. Yeah, so positive action aims to increase the diversity within our workforce. So we want our police service to be representative of the communities that it serves. So for Dorset, we're underrepresented currently by women in police officer and detective roles, by people who are Black, Asian and ethnically diverse. We're also underrepresented by people who have disabilities, and that can include long-term health conditions, and people who are neurodivergent. So in terms of positive action support, we will support people from those underrepresented groups through, so prior and through the recruitment process. And that support really varies. It can be tailored individually, and some of it will be generic. So, for example, we have online support programs which detail what the recruitment process looks like, what you need to do to prepare for it, and then you've got the option of booking one-to-one support sessions with a member of the team, say, for example, for interview preparation or preparation for your online assessment centre. In addition to that, there's means to contact us in terms of that tailored support. So it might be that you've got questions or queries about the role, the process, you might have concerns, or in some cases you might have some, seen something in the news, have concerns from national stories, and want to ask us questions and receive honest answers. We can do that for you. If you want to, we can go the next step up and put you in touch with serving officers to put your mind at ease and reassure you. We offer coaching and mentoring. That could be on a group or individual basis. And basically we'll just take whatever you need and we'll deal with it at the time, look at the barriers that you're facing personally and help you to work through those prior to and throughout your process.
Great, thanks, Cher. That's really, really good. Great. So hopefully those sort of little introductions and those sort of bit of information that we provided you will help tonight. I know we've got lots of questions, so I think we'll go straight into the questions if that's okay. If we can have the first one. So from Robert Partridge, what's the shift pattern? Scott, do you want to talk about the shift pattern?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, sir. So the shift pattern that the response teams currently are sat on is a 6 on 4 off. So you do 2 earlies, 2 lates and 2 nights. So those early shifts consists of 7 till 4. Your lates are 4 till 11. And then your nights, you're 10 till 7 in the morning. So that's the current shift pattern on response. And that's across the whole of the county. So recently, Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole section, they just changed to that pattern. So
great. And then you got 4 off. That's 4 rest days then before coming back onto your day shifts. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned there's some of the late shifts, but obviously we have peak demand times over sort of weekends as well. So what do those late shifts look like over the weekends in terms, because obviously we have to think about nighttime economy and things.
Yeah. So on the weekends, we're working 5 till 3 in the morning. And then your nights, you do an extra hour. So you're doing 9 till 7 in the morning just to cover that peak demand.
And they rotate, don't they? So over a period of time as well.
Yeah, so you're not doing that every week. It is whatever your shift pattern falls on. So
yeah, excellent. And then I'm not sure. About every 10 weeks on response is a training day, I think, as well, isn't there? In terms of that fixed training date where we can give people time to do things.
yeah, exactly that.
Great, thank you. So that's the main. Hopefully that answers the question. That's the main shift pattern. There are other shift patterns out there. So the CID teams do slightly different shift patterns. I just wonder, actually, Fiona, whether it's something. What's the shift pattern like for CID?
Yeah, of course. Well, unlike response, we do get to our bed at night, so that is one advantage of joining CID. So our shift pattern is so you work earlies, which is 8 in the morning until 6 p.m, or late, which is 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. Sometimes you do a later start, 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. And then what's great is we have every other weekend off, and then one of those weekends each month is a long weekend. So we get the Friday to the Sunday off, which is really nice. So a little bit different to response, but that's the rolling pattern.
Great, thank you. That's great. We'll go to the next question, if that's okay. So a question from Chris Bown. So I'm a serving prison officer and can't apply due to not having GCSEs, but also a veteran. Rachel, is that something you can assist with?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've touched on it very briefly in my initial introduction, but we do for the police constable entry programme, or for the detective constable entry programme, which is our new entry route, we do actually recognise the military personnel, so whether that's Army, Navy, RAF. The requirements are around 24 months service and exemplary discharge within the last 5 years. As I've mentioned, we do also recognise other roles, and I've got a long list of them, which I'm absolutely happy to share with, or you can find them on our Force website. But one of those is a prison custody officer. It's 24 months service for prison custody officers, and I've mentioned there's other roles within that. But this is what's really brilliant about our new entry route, is actually those really important previous life experiences now recognised as an equivalent to those qualifications.
Great. So if Chris has a look at our website, has a look at the information, but if he's got other questions that he wants to clarify with Rachel, depending on his unique circumstances, what's the best way for him to achieve that?
So the best way is to give us a call. Once again, our number is on there, and I'll share that with you a little bit later if that's something we can do. But if you go to our entry routes page on our Force website, that gives you the full detail and the full breakdown of those other accepted roles. And then, yeah, any other questions you've got, one of my team is more than happy to help. We're option 1 on the generic number, but we are more than happy to help. And if you have any other questions or just want to talk it through, really, we can do that for you.
Great, thanks, Rachel. And Chris, it's a great job. And I know already we've got individuals who've worked in the prison service who are working as police officers now who are loving it. So get looking at that website for us from that perspective. Next question, please. Apologies if I pronounce your name wrong, but Anastasios Karamiros, could you please tell us about the vetting process? What's checked? How long should it take? What would cause delays? And can we do anything to speed it up our end? Rachel, I think that's another one for yourself, isn't it?
It is, thank you. So whilst I don't specifically carry out the vetting checks, I do work very closely with our vetting team. So they do local checks. They also do national checks where required, and international where required also. Unfortunately, our vetting process can take a little while. So they now have an online security questionnaire which you complete, which does definitely speed up the process as opposed to our hard copy questions. So the link is shared with you from our vetting team. You're given 2 weeks to complete that. We always advise our individuals to complete that as soon as they can, but of course not to rush those forms because they are very important. Once those are returned, our vetting team aim to turn those around for our police officer new recruits within 5 weeks. So that's 25 working days. They go out, they do lots of checks. They do sort of counter-terrorism checks. They do lots. Some things that can slow it down are if one of the biggest things are either errors or not enough detail on our security questionnaires. So we always advise individuals to, if something's not known, for example, put why it's not known. So for example, if you're estranged from that individual and that's why the details aren't known, that's not a problem. We just need to know that, because what the team may do is assume that potentially you just haven't been able to find it out when you've completed it. So they may come back to you and ask for some clarification on it, which can, of course, result in delays. Some other delays are if they're out of force checks to do. So if our vetting team need to check in with other forces or other organisations, it may be that is what causes the delay. The things that can be sped up by you are just prompt responses, really. So prompt completion of the form, prompt responses if the vetting team are reaching out to you. That helps us greatly. I hope I've answered that for you.
Great, Rachel. Thanks, Rachel. You know, we've got extra resource in our vetting team to really try and drive those questions through. But yeah, like Rachel says, prompt, accurate information on there as well, and we will get through it as quick as we can from that perspective. Next question, please. So, and that's Brad Bolland. What happens if you don't have the correct GCSEs? Rachel, to you again.
Yeah, so I've already touched on it very very briefly. I'm more than happy to answer. So if you don't have the GCSEs in English and maths, we do also accept what are referred to as level 2s. They can also be referred to as functional skills. So if you don't have it and you don't have any of the other service that we've spoken about, whether it's military or other, what you can do is contact your local learning provider. So some of our local colleges do offer free classes to obtain those GCSE levels. They also offer, if it's something that you've got but it was quite some time ago and you can't find your proof of it, they offer you a test which you can do, which takes to provide you with a certification of the fact that you do have that level of learning. So we have actually a document linked on our Force website. I think it's under the FAQ section around attaining your level 2s. It just gives a little bit of an indication, essentially what I've just said there, reaching out to local learning providers, see if there's something that they can offer you. Quite often it is free with colleges, so definitely an option if that's what you're looking to achieve. If you're looking to obtain those qualifications beforehand, that's what I'd recommend.
Great, thanks, Rachel. Thank you.
No problem.
Next question, please. So Archie Smith, what qualities or skills are you most looking for in new recruits? Rachel, I'm going to come to you first, just from the initial recruitment side, but then I'll probably then just bring some others in just to talk about them themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So sort of in terms of qualities and skills, all of our selection process is done around the competency values framework, and it talks a lot within that around the sort of the things that you should be considering when going through the process. There's nothing in particular that we look for as part of the selection process. Obviously, lots of that can be very subjective. So we try to keep it as open as possible. Brilliant, but hopefully you can still hear me. But yeah, looking at our code of ethics would be really helpful, and just sort of aligning yourself with that. The competencies values framework definitely helps. Skills, you need to be able to talk to people. A lot of our police officers are out about and are talking to people, so if that's not one of your strong points, definitely try to improve on that. Unfortunately, a little bit of conflict in the role as well, but brilliant officers out there who deal with it. So that's just some of the things really that we tend to advise.
Great, thanks, Rachel. And I think that's really valid advice. You know, go onto the website, and the competency value framework will give you the type of things, and the code of ethics in particular. All this is searchable. It's on our website, but you can just search police CVF, the competency value framework. That will talk about our values, about being public service driven, integrity. You know, and these are the things that when you're coming through the process, we're going to test. So when you do these selection processes, when you're doing interviews, etc., and throughout your career as policing, that code, the police code of ethics, and those value frameworks are what are really our golden thread of how we deliver across policing and serve the public from that perspective. So that's the best place to go to have a look at those. Next question, please. That's Aaron Jones. Quick question, please. I'm currently studying criminology and psychology in university. What doors within the police force would this degree open for myself? Thank you in advance. Sorry, Rachel, I'm donating yourself really in terms of. I'm conscious it doesn't matter about what degree to degree, does it?
Yeah, exactly that. So in terms of entry route, it would be the degree holder entry route for this individual, whether that be for response or for detective. It sounds like from what you're studying that excuse me, put my teeth in. The detective constable degree holder entry program may be more suited to you and your interests and sort of what you're looking for. But so that would sort of be the direction I'd be pointing you in for us. I don't know if internally, obviously, it might help you and steer you towards certain areas of the force.
Great, thanks, Rachel. Lee, do you want to just talk about just obviously you're in initial recruitment at the minute? Do you think, from your perspective, obviously you've this individual's talk about a degree, but obviously just frame for us about the type of training you're doing at the minute, how long your training is at the minute?
Of course. So I'm currently in week 14, which is just over the halfway mark. In regards to the question regarding degrees, there are 2 people on my course currently going through the detective route, which is the degree holder entry program for the detective constables. They both have degrees in criminology. They are really invested in it. Sort of the main theme I've found around my group is they're all really enthusiastic. They're really driven to go through the role. The background they've got, they're really helping to, you can tell in the investigation side, is really coming in beneficial for them, and they're able to help us with different questions that are coming through. I've got until January, and then I will be out doing the role outside of the training environment. But yeah, it's been really beneficial so far.
Great. So you got 6 months of classroom-based training where you're going to be doing all your law training, all your officer safety training, your first aid, all that work, and that's what you're in now, isn't it? Going through, and then you're going to go out on the streets. 12 weeks, isn't it? Then being tutored.
12 weeks.
Great. And then you're in a position after that. What happens after that? Done that 12 weeks of being tutored, etc.
Perfect. So after the 12 weeks of being tutored, I'll get then signed off for independent patrol status, which will then I'll kind of go into my fully operational competence. That's a 2-year from beginning timescale, and that will be where I'm doing the job, and I'm just making sure that when I'm getting faced with these new situations, I am being assessed to make sure that I'm dealing with them correctly. I'm progressing. I'm constantly learning. That's probably one of the big parts of me wanting to join the police is I knew that it wasn't going to be 6 months and I know it all. It's going to be a lifelong of learning. And really, there's always going to be more for me to learn and more directions for me to go in. And then after the 2 years, I'll have the last year remaining, which will go into after that, I'll have my degree as part of this scheme, and then all the avenues it will open up from there.
Great, excellent, bro. Thanks very much. We're going to go into the next question next. Then, thanks, Lee. So, Anastasios Karamiros, again, I think, if successful in the DHEP DC, what would the next few years look like in the force? I think if we can go to Fiona for that one.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So once you pass the recruitment stage, you will start your training. That's as a police officer. So everybody going on the investigations route is trained as a police officer. It's the same initial training for everybody, and that lasts, I think I'm right in saying, 5 months. Once you've passed your initial training, you then move into the tutor unit. So that's the professional development unit. You have a tutor and then you start your frontline role. So that's answering the 999 calls, going out on response, and you work through a number of units. For example, you have to show that you are competent doing an open air search, for example, or a person search, or a interview with a suspect. Your tutor assesses you throughout those few weeks, and then you move into the volume crime unit, where you're there for between 6 months and a year, depending on when you feel ready to make that move to the Criminal Investigations Department, which is CID. And that's very much your journey. You're not rushed through the process. If you feel like you need longer in a particular unit, then you're supported to do that. And you, alongside that, there are qualifications that you have to get to work as an accredited detective. You have to pass a National Investigators exam. So you'll take that whilst you're in the volume crime department, or in those early few months of when you join CID. And then once you pass the National Investigators exam, you will then embark on your 2 months training, which will give you that accreditation as a detective. You'll also work on a portfolio. So any of the cases that you're working on throughout your time in CID, you'll have your tutor in CID, and you will work on your portfolio. And it's then at that stage, once you've passed your National Investigators exam, once you've done that 2 months of detective training and you've completed the portfolio, at that point you then receive your accreditation. And that's a really exciting point, because you're then accredited as we call it a PIP2 officer. So you've got that senior investigation qualification, and you can stay in CID, or you can move to other specialist investigations teams like the Major Crime Department or Child Abuse Investigation Department, or you can progress like Scott has done, and you can move through the if you want to progress as a supervisor or go into a management role, then again that is an option.
Thanks, Fiona. And I think other routes are, so you can come in. We mentioned the direct entry detective, but certainly the pathway I did is that I was a uniformed officer first, and then I did what's called the CID pathway. ICIDP is the term that we use for it. But that investigation route, where I then went in to be a detective and became a PIP2 detective throughout, and I've kept that up through my ranks. But Fiona, just you mentioned about what it looks like then in terms of all the work and sort of the training, etc. But what type of jobs would people be dealing with? Just to talk to us a bit about the type of work that you're involved in as a detective.
So the Criminal Investigations Department deals with serious and complex crimes. So that could be, so the types of crime that we deal with are serious level assaults. So that's grievous bodily harm level, serious sexual assaults. I know in some police forces that there's a specialist unit for that. In Dorset Police, that's very much as part of your CID role. You're given that specialist training in serious sexual offences. It could also be aggravated theft offences, for example, robbery, aggravated robbery or fraud. So there's lots of different types of crime that we deal with. No day is the same. It's an incredibly varied role. You never know what you're going to be coming in to work to do. So it could be a day where there is a major incident that's happened. And from the 2 years that I've been there, those are the best days. It's where everybody in the team works together. It's fast paced, it's exciting. You're all working towards the same goal. You're given a role within the team. So for example, somebody may be taking witness statements, another person may be going out to review CCTV at various places. Another pair could be doing the interview with the suspect. And it's very much like what you see in 24 Hours in Police Custody, the TV programme, where, if we have a very, very serious incident, then you have those 24 hours to pull the case together, gather those inquiries, support the victim, speak to witnesses, interview the suspect and prepare that case for the Crown Prosecution Service to see whether or not they will make charges. And if they do, and it's a really serious incident, then, you know, we often get those remands and people remanded and put before the courts the next day.
Great, thanks, Fiona. And I think, you know, for folks listening at home or wherever you are tonight, you know, that's one element of CID, but we also have other teams like the murder investigation team dealing with our homicides, the child abuse investigation team, our paedophile online investigation team, our public protection teams. So there's a big variety where you can hone your skills, and if you know, you can then move laterally into other departments where you're dealing with different types of crimes, and importantly, you know, many vulnerable victims, really making a difference to the lives that you touch. So, you know, real breadth of opportunity as well as going up the ranks, if that's something that you're interested in. I'm just going to bring Scott in now, because I think Scott, just think about the IPDU here, because I know some people who want to be detectives might be sitting at home thinking, well, I don't fancy running around on the streets. That's not what I want to do in the nighttime economy, etc. But just give us a bit of a flavour around some of the work we're doing around the IPDU, if you can.
Yeah, so we took some learning from some of the people that have been through the DCD HEPs. We noticed that potentially some of them were saying, well, actually, I don't want to go out and do the front line as much as potentially what you're currently offering. So what we've designed is a IPDU. So that is essentially you come out your initial training and you go straight into the volume crime team. Whilst you're in the volume crime team, you will then dip in and out of frontline policing. So you'll go out and get the stuff you need signed off, but your majority of kind of working will be sat within suspect interviews, victim interviews, and witness interviews. So staying within the kind of remit that you're going to be going into. So CID is obviously very office based. There's a little bit of going out, but obviously what we wanted to do is design a new way of developing people through and learning. And that was one of the ways we took from the learning we took from some of the DCD HEPs that raised, actually, I don't want to go out and do a lot of the frontline stuff. I just want to do the investigation side of things.
Great. And I think in particular, Scott, in our sort of the volume crime and some of our detectives route, we also have PSIs as well, don't we? So just able to talk about the PSI role that we have?
Yeah, so we have police staff investigators. They are essentially not police officers. We've got a few up in VCT at the moment, and we're looking at training more up as we speak. They are people that are coming in and essentially doing the role of a police officer, but without the powers that we currently have as police officers. So they are investigating crimes, they are taking statements, they are doing the interviews, and they're doing everything of a police officer, but just not going out and doing the 909 calls, essentially.
Yeah, so I think our PSI, the difference between a police officer and a PSI is that police officers got warranted powers of arrest, where PSIs don't have that warranted power of arrest. And certainly our detectives, I wouldn't want people to think that they sit behind the desk, because they're out investigating serious crimes. So if you get a rape scene, a murder scene, perhaps a death as a result of drugs, our detectives will be deploying out onto the streets, and there's an expectation our detectives will arrest their own prisoners. So not all down to those response policing capabilities that's there. But the difference from a PSI and a police officer is really those powers of arrest, and there's certain other things like power of entry, power of search as well, that go with that. But actually, response, neighbourhood policing, specialist teams, CID, we're one big team, one big family who is really here to work together to make sure we deliver the best possible service we can to the public as well. So thanks. So Scott, next question, please. So Chris Andrew, is there any age limit to applying? Rachel, do you want to come on this?
Yes, thank you. So there has been a change in our eligibility over the last year or so. So individuals can apply from the age of 17 and complete the selection process. However, they need to be aged 18 in order to join. So that was a change nationally around eligibility requirements for minimum age. There's no upper age limit at the moment in terms of applications. Obviously, just various prerequisite checks and pre-employment checks that need to be completed following the selection process. So can apply at 17, but 18 at the point of starting.
Great, thanks. And Fiona, I think your intake, what was the age ranges that you had in when you joined the police, just to give a bit of a view for people?
I think our intake is a really good example of how, you know, there is no barrier to, that age is no barrier, as it were. So on our intake, we had people in their 20s who just come out of university. We had people in their 30s, 40s, including myself. I was 43 when I made the move and joined, and also in their 50s as well, which is fantastic because everybody brings an incredible amount of experience, enthusiasm, and skills with them.
Great, thanks, Fiona. I think what's really important, we're trying to get the message across here, is that you know, policing needs to be representative of our communities, and that's all, you know, all colours, all ages. You know, if people have got certain levels of disabilities, so particularly dyslexia and things. And Rachel, just sorry, actually, I'll bring Sharon. Actually, share just some of the stuff that we can do, you know, around some of those perhaps neurodivergent dyslexia issues. Just able to comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we support many people who are neurodivergent, ranging like from dyslexia through to autism and everything in between. So again, when I mentioned earlier, we tailor the support. We do just that when it comes to neurodiversity. So I'm dyslexic, I might struggle with processing, and then somebody else might be dyslexic and struggle with spelling. So everyone's individual and their barriers are all different. But what we'll do is we'll sit down and have a chat with you, work out what your barriers are, what reasonable adjustments you might require, and then we'll help you put forward your reasonable adjustments to our recruitment team, who are really, really experienced in supporting people with neurodiversity. So throughout your process, hopefully you'll feel supported, you'll have a point of contact. But just to give you some examples of reasonable adjustments that are put in place for certain things, it might be that you get a little bit extra time in your interview prep. So it just gives you that extra processing time. Maybe that you have additional notes. You know, when you're through and you're doing your training as well, there'll be adjustments there for you. So there's plenty of things built into our software on the computers that we use. And hopefully you'll feel supported throughout your career. But it's really important at this stage to just also mention that throughout the force there is support groups. So there's a neurodiversity support network that support you throughout and beyond. There's loads of other support networks too, but I'm really confident that if you choose to join Dorset Police, that you will feel supported if you've got a neurodiversity.
Great, thanks, Cher. That's really helpful. I think it's just important to send that message to people listening about actually all the support that I have in place, and it's not a barrier to joining what is a fantastic job. Let's go for the next question, please. So, Wilf Bullman, am I correct in thinking that there's no annual leave during the first 6 months of training? Annoyingly, I've got a holiday booked in June. So would this mean that I couldn't join an intake before then? Rachel, is that one you can answer? If not, I can probably give it a shot.
Sorry, my system dropped out then, but I think you were going to hand that one over to me. So yes, so what we do tend to say is that within your initial training, which is approximately 6 months, is that we don't approve any additional annual leave just because of the sort of intensity and how much is covered, that taking even just 1 or 2 days out can sort of really set you back and put that additional pressure on. So you will have 2 full weeks during that time, and they are pre-allocated to the course. So depending on what's happening, that's sometimes halfway through and then at the end before you go out to your tutorship, or sometimes if your intake runs over the Christmas period or the festive period, it may be that they are back to back over the festive period, which I know our intakes really enjoy, because that's very rare that may happen. So we do try to work with you if we can. but if you do have a holiday booked, we will always work with you. So it's not a problem at all. We can pop you on an intake that suits that for you. We can either have a look at the training dates and see if that, by some miracle, the stars align and that falls on one of the pre-allocated annual leave, or we'll pop you against an intake that either it falls outside of the outside of the initial training, or if have you do your holiday first and then pop you on one afterwards. I think that was the extent of the question.
Thanks, Rachel. So we'll get your application in and we can work through in terms of your start dates, etc. Don't let that be a barrier to you from our perspective. Let's work with you on that. Next question, please. So Amelia Harrison, what makes a PCDA applicant stand out during recruitment? Would you advise I apply for the 2026 intake before or after I graduate? Rachel, that's definitely one for you, I think.
It is, thank you. So in terms of applying either before or after you graduate, you can apply before you receive your qualifications, but it will need to be within the next 6 months, just because that's the sort of the maximum length of our recruitment selection process. So if you're obtaining your qualifications in the next 6 months, absolutely apply. If you'd prefer to wait until after, also an option for you, but we've got a couple of steps for the selection process. You have the national SIFT process, the online assessment centre, and the force interview as well, so we can sort of utilize that time before you're obtaining your qualifications to complete the selection in time for that. I'm just trying to, sorry, the question's just
it's about qualities of the PCDA.
Yeah, yes. So again, sort of just referring back to that skills and qualities, just having a look at the code of ethics and the competencies values framework will give you sort of those points that you can consider and that you can sort of expand upon. There's nothing specifically for the PCDA route. It is just sort of for the police constable role as a whole. But having a look at those two documents specifically will certainly help you in terms of how to prepare moving forward.
Great, thanks, Rachel. And would you suggest people look at that CVF and then think about, okay, I've got to, let's say there's a CVS on taking ownership. Let's use that one or public service and there's sort of like descriptors, isn't there, underneath them? What would you sort of say to people that they're thinking of, applying, look at those areas and then thinking about, well, I'll see what evidence I've got to support those, because they'll get asked questions, won't they, about under those headings in some of the process that they go through. Any advice that you give on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So through multiple stages throughout the process, you may be asked questions against those competencies or values. So absolutely, if you can think of examples in whether it's in education, in work, in your personal life, whatever, it doesn't need to be work related. It can be in whatever you can apply that to in your life. And the biggest thing for me and the biggest advice that I give to people throughout the selection process is around structuring answers, because it just really helps you give a really well-rounded response. So one of those is the STAR mnemonic. So that's situation, task, action, result. And it just really helps you cover off and explain an example fully. So talk about the situation, what the task was, what the action you took, and what the outcome or the result was of that example. So yeah, if you can apply examples and start thinking about that, or start thinking or applying those competencies and values to day-to-day experiences you have, that will help you for the selection process.
Great, brilliant. Thanks, Rachel. We'll go to the next question. I hope. Archie Smith, are there any common mistakes applicants make during the application or interview stage? Rachel?
Yeah, so I've just touched on that very briefly in terms of the interview stage and sort of the well-rounded responses. That is probably the biggest one we see, and I think if you haven't done a structured interview before, it's really quite surprising. Whilst we provide the preparation materials, you do get an interview information sheet. So just really reading that in detail and taking that advice on. In terms of application, the main not necessarily mistakes, but the main things we come up against are potentially people are so keen to join us and they're sort of completing them nice and quickly, which is brilliant, but maybe not necessarily reading it in full to make sure that we're getting what we need. And also I think sometimes sometimes guessing or popping on there what they think we may want them to say. So if you are ever unsure, if you get to a point in the application where you think, oh, I'm actually not sure what they're asking for me here, do reach out to us, pop us an email, give us a call. My team are always on hand to advise and sort of point you in the right direction, or give you an alternative if you're not sure, or if you haven't got something specific that it's asking for. So yeah, that's kind of the main things that we see.
Great, thanks, Rachel. We'll go to the next question, please. Okay, so Bravo Sierra Victor. So what equipment can be used for those who are frontline officers who are hearing impaired? For example, use of police radios. I'm just thinking it's best to sort of approach this really. Rachel, anything that you can add to this? I can go to share as well around it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot of advice in that area. I know we have had individuals that have come through the process. It is largely managed by our occupational health team. So our occupational health team will meet with you. You'll have a face-to-face appointment with them. We'll also reach out to your GPs for a medical questionnaire to be verified. We do a hearing test as part of the medical, and it may be that the team, the occupational health team, recommend things for you. So, for example, there's certain things that could be hooked up, for want of a better word, to the radio, which helps and sort of works with any devices that you already have. But the occupational health team do work with the national medical standards, national medical police standards. So if you are unsure about it, it does have a lot of information on there about what the process may be and what can be offered for you. So again, that's linked on our Force website under the medical section. So may provide some reassurance or at least some additional information for you around the specifics of your situation. But there are definitely things that could be worked through.
Great, thanks. And that's quite a detailed document, isn't it? So that's a really helpful document. If you're asking about those sort of health issues, then go there. I'll take some more questions because there's quite a few outstanding, and we're coming up towards the sort of the hour or so. So Noah Strong, is there rules on tattoos? Oh, sorry, Rachel, it's you again.
No, you're fine. So rules as such is that they're not a bar to applying. So all we ask as part of your application form is that you upload images of your tattoos. We also ask for descriptions, non-English word translations and meanings around it. Almost all tattoos are reviewed. Some are escalated higher to sort of resourcing manager or positive action manager, but they are they're reviewed holistically. Obviously, we are aware that it is ever changing. More and more people are getting tattoos. You don't have to have a tattoo to apply. You equally don't have to not have any to apply. We have lots of serving police officers that have tattoos. As long as they're not being interpreted as offensive to cause offence, then would they just get reviewed and signed off as and when. Sometimes there are suggestions to amendments to them if it's sort of weaponry or something similar, but again, it's looked at in conjunction with everything else. It's looked at in conjunction with the meaning behind the tattoo, the location of it, that sort of thing. So it's not sort of a one size fits all, and I'd love to be able to provide you with a list of rules, but it is very much a case by case basis in terms of tattoos.
I wouldn't let it be a barrier to people if you've
Absolutely
got tattoos. Absolutely not. I'm from that perspective. It's great. Should we go to the next question? So Ruby Starks, how do you sign up if you're interested? Well, Rachel, you've got the mic still.
Thank you so much. So we are currently open for recruitment. So just visiting our Force website and going on the Police Officer New Recruits page, or transferees if you're serving in a current force, and there is an Apply Now button. We do also have a weekly awareness event, it covers in a little bit more detail around eligibility, an initial recruitment process that myself and my team run. So if you want to come see more of me, you can book onto those, and they're available to everyone on the Force website. If for some reason you go onto the Force website and we don't have an apply here button, there will be instead that says to express your interest, please visit this link. And then what that will do is that will add very basic details for you to a list, and then ahead of our next recruitment campaign we'll pop you an email to say we're launching on this date, keep your eyes peeled, and then you'll get the link to the advert.
Great, thanks, Rachel. Thanks. That's what brings us to the hour now, this evening. And I'm conscious there's still lots of comments there, but hopefully what we have, lots of questions, but hopefully what we have asked sort of reply tonight gives you the flavour. But go to our website, lots of frequently asked questions there, and that will hopefully help you. But if you've got any problems, contact the recruitment team. We're here to help. We want to make sure that people don't think there's barriers in place. We want you to come and love Dorset as a county. Join the force. Work hard, but then enjoy the county for your rest and recuperation. From that perspective. But before I go, I'm just going to come to the officers online and just really sort of ask you, if you can, just to sort of in a few words, just tell us why you decided to join policing. So let's go to Scott first.
Thank you, sir. So my reason for joining policing, I would have gone for the cliche of helping people and stuff like that, but I worked in IT. I was very bored. I joined as a special constable before becoming a PC, so I had that little bit of experience there to test the water, see if it was right for me. But I was really bored in IT, and when I need something that I come to work every day, and no job is the same. So every single day it is different. I don't walk in, even now as in a supervisory rank, and the day is the same. Every single day is different, and that's what I wanted. So that was my reason for joining.
Great, thanks, Scott. That's great. So I'll go to Fiona next.
I think I was attracted to the investigation work, just the challenge of that. And since joining CID, I think the most rewarding aspect is just being able to support victims. And you come into work and you do your absolute best for that investigation, support the victim all the way through until that case concludes, be it at court with the trials and sentencing. And I think that's incredibly rewarding and a real privilege as well.
Great, thanks. And Cher, shall I come to you?
Thank you, sir. Well, I was inspired to join the police at the age of 13 when I went on a school visit to our local station. Spoke to some officers there, and I had that itch, if you like, for years, and went off and did other things, and then came back into policing really when I was in my early 30s. Love it. Every day is different. I've learned so much. I've gained so much. 20 years in, still here.
Great, thanks, Cher. That's really good to hear. And then Lee.
Thank you, sir. So I echo a lot of what Scott has said. I worked within sort of an office-based role, needed something that was going to excite me about life again. So I found the police were doing the degree apprenticeship, realised that opened up that entry-level programme for me, and it has lived up to that. Every day is different in every one of the last 14 weeks I've done.
Great, thanks, Lee. And here's to many, many more days, weeks, months, years of policing. And believe me, it is a great job, and it stays like that with you from my perspective. So folks, the questions that are outstanding, we will endeavour to go through those and reply to them. So we will endeavour to answer everyone's questions online, but just difficult tonight in the time frame that we've got. So I'd like to thank you at home or wherever you are tonight for joining us, asking the questions, and hopefully you look at this and think, actually, policing is for you, Dorset's for you, and please, get in touch with our recruitment team. We're here to help. We want to hear from you around things. I think from my perspective, can I just say thanks to the panel. A number of people are, not at work. They're doing this in their own time at home for this, or extended hours on top of their day job. So huge thanks for everybody and coming to the panel. I think your insights have been really helpful for people. But thanks very much. Have a lovely evening, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.